but on the account that I'm doing this on, it turns out that I did not have my broadcast mic audio sharing on, so I will do this again. But this is just the same video I did already, which is titled Orochi Light Spam is a Problem, but with my chat audio explaining why it's a problem, why it's really not, and really what your counters should be against it. I'm going to do this against bots, because when I was trying to do it in normal duels, it really wasn't finding a match for 2 to 4 minutes at a time. So, but what I was saying in the last one, it appears that it's a problem, and really only on console, because in my opinion, it's because the skill ceiling's a little higher on PC, as well as the frames per second on console differs, and makes the really quick attacks of the Orochi kind of an issue. So, whatever bot this is against, I will showcase that.
Round one.
This will be uploaded, by the way. It's not just a broadcast. I don't know if anyone's watching right now, but oh, another Orochi. That's perfect. So, Orochi attacks really are not as fast as people like to think they are, and they're really very easy to counter. So I'll just I'm doing a really bad job of showcasing that it's easy to counter, but they really aren't extremely fast to the point where it's hard to block them, even if you have more than just a couple hours in the game.
Victory.
And they're actually fairly easy to block, and a lot of people think that the second light in the combination of the triple light is guaranteed, but it's really not. It's really more guesswork on when or where the second light will be coming from, and most typically it's the opposite direction of where the initial one landed. So that's also a fairly easy way to counter most of the light spam. But that feint right there that the bot just used is one of the bigger issues for the newer players, because they don't really know how to deal with it. But certain attacks like the Orochi's lunging, the Orochi's lunging overhead light make it fairly easy to close the distance, which makes the feint a little redundant. And a lot of the newer players really don't know how to counter that. But really, if you start playing against an actual Orochi, not a bot, if you start using lights or really anything similar, and they start baiting that that feint, it's pretty clear that that's their intention. And if that's the case, you just kind of close the distance and make it almost redundant for them to use that light attack, or that light feint, because if you do, and if you get a little closer and you have a character with a little bit longer distance, and you throw a heavy attack or something like that, it will close the distance even with their lunging back for that feint. It makes it really stupid to throw on the Orochi's part, and pretty much a useless part of their kit. Another issue is the spinning attacks of Orochi, and they're really not terribly fast at all and easy to block. Bot pretty much refuses to block. Just like Zerker, as soon as you see the lunge to that direction, you might as well just block to that direction, and it's almost never going to land. It's fairly easy, and if you know how to parry, and you can parry fairly efficiently, it's almost always a free parry. It's a very, very redundant part of Orochi's kit, and that makes it really useless against even mid-tier players. So the reason why Orochi is kind of an issue is it has a really low barrier to entry of skill level, and it makes the newer players use him a lot, and that's the only players who really don't know how to combat an Orochi, is their lack of skill, their lack of really being able to block efficiently or parry efficiently or bait efficiently with feints and such. And yep, that's really the only issue with Orochi. There's one more thing that I'm going to show you, which gives even higher level players a little bit of an issue, but not really a terrible issue, and that's the I don't really know what to call it. I'm not too familiar with Orochi's kit. Pretty much the same as the feint, except you hold it and it's with the heavy attack, Storm Rush, I believe. Yeah, and the reason why it's an issue now and it wasn't before is before it was only one direction. It can only go to the right side, I believe, and now you're able to change directions mid-attack. You can go heavy, or you can go overhead, you can go left, you can go right, and it makes it kind of an issue. And that's, again, only really for newer players with not a terribly high reflex in this game. If I can see the bottom bucket. So, I can go left. No, or right, sorry. Go right again. Valkyrie is not the character I really want to play against. But so I'll start the lunge overhead and then switch to the left, and then it really just kind of confuses the newer players about where that attack is actually going to land. And since it's a heavy, it's pretty easy to counter off of. And it's able to get executions off of it. Orochi's really like to throw it. Wow, I lost to a bot. But that's really the only issue of Orochi's kit, is that even prestige or rep 20, rep 30, rep 40, or rep 50 players kind of get caught by it sometimes because it's able to change directions, and if a character has a pattern of going in one direction and then they just switch it, it's pretty much always a free attack if the opponent really doesn't expect it and doesn't have a very high reflex rate. Oh my god. Getting owned by this bot Valkyrie. But it's... Orochi is an issue, but it's not. That's really it. The community is pretty divided on it right now, but once you put just a couple more hours in the game, Orochi really becomes a non-issue and actually one of the easier characters to go against in my opinion.
Victory!
Very, very easy to counter. The lights are fast, but if you're just good at blocking or you're using a non-assassin, it's fairly easy to get the block on those lights and thereby stop the light chain. The backstep feints are really easy to counter. The spinning moves are very easy to counter as well. I'm just going to ledge this bot just because for lols. Hopefully not. In fact, now that I'm going against the Valkyrie, Orochi's light spinning is very similar to Valkyrie's, in that it's super quick as long as it's not lunging, and it's almost always against newer players a guaranteed second hit or even third hit. But you don't really see people complaining about Valkyrie because it's not quite as fast and there's not quite as many lights. It's not an issue. It really isn't. Just really for newer players. And that's why you don't see a lot of super high level players complaining about the Orochi. And then I guess since I have one more match or one more round, another thing that people complain about is the deflex. The light deflect is part of the light spam. But really you just don't, if you don't have a high dependency on left or right side light attacks, it's really not an issue. Shit. Yeah, I mean, the deflects really aren't an issue. It's very hard to deflect the overhand light, and the left or right, I mean, if they start deflecting and they're good at deflecting, you close the distance, you guard break a lot, you feint a lot, if you can parry them a lot, and it really gets that tool out of their kit. It's not a very hard thing to counter. It shouldn't be part of the conversation of the light spam. That's pretty much. I'm just gonna finish this thing, which I'm apparently gonna lose to this bot Valkyrie, which is unfortunate, especially for showcasing the fact that I'm not a low tier player. But wow, that worked.
Victory!
There you go. Yeah, that's the video. Hopefully it was a little better than the one with no audio. But yeah, I'm going to end it there.